Hello, good evening, everyone here in the US, and good morning there in the Philippines. You are watching PT Mill Podcast live. You're serving of ano ba to? Nakalimutan ko yung spiel ko. Uh, Information and insights and inspiration regarding the physical therapy practice and profession from the experiences and expertise of physical therapists with a Filipino flavor kasi hindi lang naman Filipino physical therapist minsan yung nag-guest natin. So again, I'm Johann and welcome to the program. We have an exciting episode for you today. We're going to be talking about, you know, experience in physical therapy school, being demotivated, unmotivated. Nagsimula na yung discussion namin kanina ng aking guest na hindi namin namalayan na time na pala na mag live. But I feel that this is going to be an interesting topic for everyone. Before that, I just would like to invite everyone to follow the podcast in our platforms in YouTube, Spotify, in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, hindi ko nalalagay dito, and Amazon Music, and other podcast apps. And follow the podcast accounts, social media accounts at PTMO Podcast in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Okay, so sana everyone is following already. If not, follow lang for updates and for new episodes, educational materials, and stuff. All right, without further ado, let me welcome my guest, a previous guest already here in the podcast, member of the Academe, um, Sir Marvin Zotomayor. Sir Marvin, welcome back to the podcast and welcome to your first ever PTNU podcast live.
Yon, thank you so much, Kuya Johan, no? Ayan, maraming salamat po for inviting me again
Mm-hmm.
for your in your platform, the PT Meal Podcast. Maraming salamat.
Right, right. So, kanina, sinabi ko na nga kanina, nagsimula na yung discussion natin about students being demotivated, unmotivated, with ever, whatever circumstances they have. Yun ang mag-focus tayo sa ano natin ang ngayon and what we can share our experiences as well para they have some context on where we're coming from. But before that, for those who are just hearing your name for the first time, could you describe to us uh, what you're doing in the profession? What are you up to?
Okay, yeah. I'm Assistant Professor Marvin Zotomayor. So I'm currently working as an academician in a university. So mostly it's more of the academe, but our workload also entails clinical work. So apart from teaching teaching students, we also are clinical faculty din. So supervising interns, no, as they process or as they get to have or as they get to experience it sa aming clinic.
Okay. All right. So you encounter or you really are interacting with students in your job.
Yes.
So talagang ma-experience mo itong mga pag-usapan natin today. All
Mm-mm.
right, so just for everyone's context, the topic came because we were after our discussion back then, napag-usapan namin yung mga experience namin ni Sir Marvin. And um, we had some struggles when we were in physical therapy school. Yung pag-usapan naman later. And what happened to that experiences, no? Siguro, I'll give credit to Sir Marvin pala for the topic today. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. Motivating the demotivated and unmotivated. So, siguro simulan natin, Sir Marvin, sa ano? Um, Mahina ba? Ay, okay ba? Okay. Siguro simulan natin yung kaninang napag-usapan na natin, yung demotivated and unmotivated students. Ano yung mga how different are they from each other?
Ayun 'no, thank you for asking that no, Kuya Johan 'no. Let's unpack muna what demotivation and unmotivation is,
Mm,
in this context. Kasi in the context of, higher education, mostly kapag, unmotivated, ito yung mga tipong lost sila kung ano yung pinapasok nila. So, hindi nila ma-appreciate kung ano ba yung tinatahak nilang landas,
mm,
'no? So, technically parang ito yung mga makikita mo na, okay, pumapasok lang tapos hindi nila maintindihan yung konsepto tinuturo sa kanila. So, you'll get to see them parang passive,
mm,
doing, what is, kung anong sinabi sa kanila, and usually mga unmotivated, mga hindi nagsisipasok sa klase, 'no? Until such time na biglang nag-LOA or magshi-shift na ng
mm,
course. So, generally, that's the unmotivated.
mm,
'Pag demotivated, sila naman yung mga estudyante na, um kahit papaano may idea sila of what the future lies ahead of them, but they don't appreciate it at the moment because hindi pa nila na-experience yon. So parang may gray area pa if they would pursue it or what the future lies ahead of them. But wala na silang magagawa kasi nandun na sila.
mm,
So pero dahil may gray area pa rin na hindi nila sure kung anong what the future lies ahead of them, they get to be demotivated.
mm,
So, po both of them, still passive. So, yun yung pinaka-context nun, no? And I think, no, sasabihin na agad na yung solution, no?
mm,
And I really think, no, the concept of learn, unlearn, relearn can also be applied in that context.
mhm. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so maraming mga PT students and even in other courses naman siguro na um, students coming into a program na hindi nila alam kung ano yung pinasok nila. Like when I came into physical therapy school, may konting idea ko on what it is. First year, second year, medyo okay pa. Kasi nga, ano na, back then with the 5-year program, first year, second year, Gen Ed eh. So, hindi pa parang, wala pa dun masyadong culture shock of what physical therapy is. Parang, you're being eased into anatomy, physiology, chemistry, physics, ganyan. So, um, nakakapag-adjust ako. Pero I mean, like, right now, iba na yung, di ba, curriculum, pagpasok ko lang sa physical therapy school, boom, ayan, major subjects na agad. So, I would imagine na parang ibang mundo talaga yung pagpasok mo agad sa physical therapy school. Um, and talking about demotivation, minsan naman yung pagpasok din naman mga students then may idea sila of what physical therapy is, pero hindi nila alam meron palang kabilang side ng physical therapy na paglabas nila ganito pa rin gagawin or pagpasok nila ito pala yung hirap ng pinasok nila na hindi sila na warn on what challenges they might feel ahead kasi in their career seminars sabi na PT maganda to, di ba? Hindi sa high school bibigyan sila ng career seminar. PT, ito yung magiging trabaho mo, ganyan. So, meron na silang idea of what PT is. Tapos, magiging disillusion sila. Pagpasok na sa physical therapy school, na ang hirap-hirap pala. Tapos, paglabas nila sa physical therapy school, ito pala yung mangyayari, na hindi pala ito yung, no. So, at different points of a physical therapy student, ma-feel nila yung demotivation. So, let's, siguro, simulan na yung, yung learn, unlearn, relearn concept. So, learning, sige, you learn, kasi sa sinend mo sa akin, what you describe what learn, unlearn, and relearn is, so paano natin i-elaborate to sa students or yung concept to our viewers?
Alright. Okay. In the context of education kasi,
Mm,
um, pag we go through a process of the learn, unlearn, relearn. Even in no, we can also adapt this in as a professional or
mm,
even as a lifelong learner or kung hindi na nag-aaral or hindi na ayaw na mag-aral kahit sa buhay,
uh,
no? hindi lang naman pag sinabi nating learning, kailangan academics.
Mhm.
No? So, pwede natin itong i-apply even in the context of our own personal lives. Because technically, everything that we attend to is we get to learn.
Mhm.
No? Hindi naman exactly kailangan professionally aligned yung mga natututunan natin, right? So, how do we unpack yung learn, unlearn, relearn, no? Pag sabi nating learn, ito yung mga constantly natututunan ninyo. And then, yung next concept dyan is unlearn. So, may bago ka na, nung inexperience mo siya, you would get to question what you learned. Alright? So, yun yung unlearning,
Mhm.
filtering, no? And then, pagdating mo sa relearn, gumagawa ka na ng sarili mong frame of reference or thought na how are you going to um, ano no, set or ano tawag dito, separate what you have learned and what have you experienced, no? And how can you practice that
Mhm.
in in the long run. So
Mhm.
it's more of that process of cyclical process na syempre as we learn, no? Hindi lang pag nag-relearn ka, may babago ka rin matututunan. So the cycle goes again.
Mhm.
So in terms of ano naman so students naman natin, no, or in this motivation, no, how are we going to unpack this learn, unlearn, relearn, no? So in our context naman of success and failures, so to speak, no, it's more of learn ano yung ano natin, no, paano tayo natuto when we are in undergrad.
Mhm.
So, that's yun yung parang nung sinabi kasi sa akin ni Kuya Johan itong topic namin, sabi ko, okay, mukhang maganda 'to, 'no? Lalo lang na ngayon, palapit na yung board exams a few weeks from now or a few days from
Kailan
now,
ba ang
December
board
1 and
exam
2.
ngayon?
December
December.
1 and 2. Yeah. And ayun, I think na napapanahon din ngayon na siyempre 'pag palapit na yung board exams, medyo nakakatakot. Alam natin 'yan, no? Because there's this uncertainty of what lies ahead.
Mhm.
That's for those who are about to take the board exams. For
Mhm.
those in the undergrad naman, syempre hindi pa nila alam what physical therapy is all about, no?
Mhm.
Not until they get to practice that in internship,
Right.
no? But in other schools, no, merong may mga like no, I'm grateful to be part of a community na apart from laboratory classes, we also have practice placements, mala OJT,
Mhm.
na even for second year students, they get to already practice the concepts that they get to learn at their year level in real with real clients already.
Talaga?
Yes.
Bago yan?
Yes.
For
Kaya
all for all
kaya
universities ba
masaya
yan?
ako. Masaya ako. Masaya ako sa I get to practice it. Kasi I'm really more into no, advocate of uh, connecting theory to practice. Kaya
Uh-huh.
nung mayroon na sa second year, so at least they get to appreciate what theory are they learning with real clients.
Mhm.
Kaya pagdating mo sa internship, dapat kahit nakapikit kaya na nila.
Mhm.
Mga ganon.
Sa lahat ng ng programs ba yan? Lahat ng universities o sa inyo lang?
I'm not so sure with others.
Uh-huh.
Oo,
That's a
yun.
that's a good concept. Parang nursing, 'di ba nursing program
Yeah,
nag-iiba
may
din
year
sila.
level din sila.
Parang second
Mm.
year they get to assist in delivery kasi yun yung topic na for
That's
second
good.
year. Obstetrics
Mm.
ata eh. Yun yung
Mm.
sinabi. Narinig ko lang sa sister ko kasi sabi niya second year pa
Mm.
lang magpaanak na siya kasi yun yung topic niya. Kung galing pala,
Cool.
napapractice na nila agad, na-instill na agad sa kanila saan
Mm.
nila magagamit yung inaral nila.
Yun. Maganda yung sinabi mo kuya, no, na napapractice na agad nila yung natututunan nila.
Mhm.
Because I really think na that is where motivation right now is no, yun yung hinahanap ngayon ng generation,
Mhm.
that they get to practice what they are gaining,
Mhm.
no? So ayun yung parang ano, no, para saan 'to? Ano ba 'tong inaaral ko,
Mhm.
no?
Right.
How will I get to practice that, no?
Mhm.
So that's for the learning part. Kasi pagdating mo sa unlearn, how are you going to filter what you learned and what you have experienced,
Mhm.
no?
Mhm.
So based on success and failures, no? Um kung dun sa learning process mo ay nag-fail ka, how are you going to stand up from that,
Mhm.
from that failure? So syempre gagawa ka ng paraan para bumangon. That's unlearning.
Mhm.
And then relearning, how are you going to make use of that process, to shed light to others and even to for yourself then, in whatever kung ano man ang ma-experience mo apart from what you have experienced as a failure. So, for example, sa mga professional, paano pag nag-fail ang business?
Uh-huh.
How are you going to apply this concept as well? It's really very generic in essence, no?
Mhm.
So, I really hope that even professionals can appreciate this. But this concept is usually talagang mahirap siyang mas applicable siya for students talaga.
Mhm. Right. When you were talking about yung concept na practicing what they already learned, naisip ko kasi, like, with this generation ng students ngayon, I mean, iba na rin, I feel that iba na rin yung learning style nila from us, which we grew up with no cell phones. We were, I think, more attentive, or I don't know, imaginative. We can see things in our minds. But with the generation right now, na hindi ko sinasabing bad. I mean, ito lang kasi talaga kinalaki nila. They're more, I think they're learning more with how they're seeing it and how they're experiencing.
Yes.
Kasi yun lahat ang ganun lahat ang nasa stimulus sa paligid nila eh. They see, they feel, they see something, they try to copy it, like TikTok. They see a trend and they copy it. So parang education should also go with that kind of trend, with how they're learning. Na the moment that they learn something, they have to repeat that or be able to experience that so that they can appreciate that and really get the concept, and really, you know parang try to really get it into their hearts and minds. Diba?
Mm.
Kasi for us, we were just trying to imagine it, to role play, and that was, I think that was, for me, that was enough. That was already parang ang taas na ng level ng role playing. Na parang
Right.
yun na yung yun
Totoo
na yung
yun.
ako, ito na na-experience ko na, di ba? Pero sa kanila, I think they have to really feed it and get into it to really justify, that they are appreciating it, and seeing its value or purpose. Um, so yung also yung concept nung sinabi mo na learn and unlearn, naisip ko um, about success and failure. I sometimes I try to look back on my experience in physical therapy school. Na sabi ko nga, no, first year, second year, it wasn't that hard for me. May mga classmates ako na nag-fail sa mga ibang subjects, Zoho, comprehensive anatomy. And inisip ko, yung mga bumagsak noon, ako hindi bumagsak, bumagsak sila, nag-summer sila, then they unlearned, they questioned, they filtered out then they learned from that experience. Third year, fourth year, fifth year, hindi na sila bumagsak, hindi sila na-irreg. And I feel na iniisip ko sana, first year, second year ako bumagsak, hindi third year. Kasi parang I didn't experience failure grade school, high school, then first year and second year. Tapos pagdating ng third year, sabi ko, oh my goodness, first time ko mag-fail. Tapos it was really a big deal for those who are not aware of how physical therapy programs are. Back then, in the 5-year program, pagdating mo ng third year, ito na yung mga major subjects ng physical therapy. from anatomy and on anatomy foundations. So no one, the policy is if you fail in any subject when you're in third year and fourth year, your major subjects, madedelay ka na ng taon, madadagdagan na ng taon kasi if you fail a course in, so let's say first year, prerequisites siya on the courses on the second. I mean, if you fail a course on the first semester, prerequisite siya na of some of the courses in the second semester. So kung bumagsak ka na doon, it's understood na baka hindi mo kayanan yung second sem. So, hindi mo na makukuha yon. Delayed ka na, irregular ka pa. So, the next year, doon sa first sem na yon, kung isang course ang minagsak mo, yun lang ang kukunin mo. So, a lot of time wasted. And, time and money and effort. Sabi nga ng tatay ko na, sinabi ko sa kanya bumagsak ako, um, is wasted. Tapos, yun nga, na-extend ka pa. So, from 5 years, 6 years ako. So, yun yung parang, at that point, sabi ko, I parang, if I failed earlier, then I could have changed my perspective and, tawag dito, and try to better myself moving forward. Pero I am not saying na I regretted failing sa third year kasi it brought up some opportunities for me and tawag dito, and give me something to learn about and in other aspects of my life. So unlearning siguro, I unlearned yung too much confidence I had back then. Nasabi ko kakayanin ko yung maging active sa mga extracurricular while balancing studies. Tapos I try to, you know, change my perspective, try to focus on my studies kasi na-realize ko hindi pala kaya ng katawag ko, hindi na ako high school. And relearn something about school and about other aspects of my life kasi when after the second sem, kasi bumagsak ako first sem, third year, second sem, ano na ako, irreg na, less load. I thought na what can I do to um, to make myself better or at least make something productive out of it. Sabi ko, back then, very uso yung call center. So I went to another industry and nag-call center
You
ako.
did. You did too.
Ah,
Okay.
so nauuso yung back then call centers.
Mm.
Tapos, so nag-start ako summer. Sabi ko, okay, good. Part-time lang yun, 4 hours. 4 hours part-time. And binuno ko siya for 9 months. So from summer until first semester, some parts of second semester. Tapos, papasok ako ang shift ko ng 2 to 2, 10 to 2, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Napaka-easy lang. Tapos, I have morning classes the next day for some of the days, yung isang subject ko kasi 7 a.m. So, wala na akong tulog that time. Yun lang. So, yun yung aking parang silver lining and that's how I relearned and tawag dito, make something good of that experience. Pero, when I tell that to other people, sabi ko, yun yung aking, that's how I cope. Kasi I wanted to do something more for that free time. And since hindi naman ako masyadong maaral aside from what I'm already studying na PT, sabi ko, try natin yung mag-call center tayo. So yun. So, yun yung mga naisip ko sa mga sinasabi mo kanina. So, for, like, so mga ganon, how would you say na, how would you tell students na they're at their level of, questioning where they are? Uh,
Mm.
kasi, di ba, we have different situations, different
Tama.
circumstances, lalo na with COVID, di ba, it presented
Right.
a lot of challenges for everyone na it brought up different, um, barriers na
Right.
hindi naman lahat nakaka-experience. I mean, like, when you're going to school, most of the people would experience the same barriers like commuting, pero more or less education would be in, level field. Pero uh, with that, on with students or siguro early professionals na in that sense na they're experiencing that nasa gray area na sila. They're not um, where they think they are. Ano yung pwede nilang process na gawin and
Oo.
to move forward or something like that.
Hmm. Malalim yung tanong mo, kuya, no? Actually, sige,
Medyo
ano ko.
seryoso, man.
Oo, malalim din 'yan, no? Actually, if we're going to unpack yung question mo, it's more of it boils down on the teaching and learning process that the student or students are actually going through, no? Because it is through that students would get to appreciate whatever it is that is being laid out to them,
Mhm.
no? Regardless kung what the future lies ahead.
Right.
So it all boils down then on the the teaching and learning process, no? Paano sila tinuturuan? Paano yung process flow?
Mhm.
Are the tawag dito, are the theories and concepts, are the theories and concepts or even models being taught na palatable, relatable, or are they really jargons to be memorized?
Wow.
Because technically, um yung CHED mandate natin ngayon is a shift of focus from a 5-year na competency-based
Mhm.
na education, which is ang sistema ay, ito ang dapat, ganito ka dapat ha, ito ang role model PT, dapat ito ang mga ma-hit nating competencies. Kung hindi mo ma-hit itong mga competencies na to, hindi ka po pwedeng mag-move forward.
Okay.
And which is ngayon sa new curricula, we have the outcomes-based education, wherein instead of competencies that are being rated out of a student, it's the outcome, no? Or outcomes rather, which is sabi, ano yung outcome dapat, no?
Mhm.
That would be yung kung ano yung program outcomes that are nung ginawa dun sa sa profession ninyo, no? So are those program outcomes related to the competencies? Yes, but in the field in the context of outcomes based, no? Ang sistema kasi is kapag hindi ka makasunod, aagapay kami para tulungan kang magets mo siya.
Mhm.
Magets mo yung outcome na yon,
Okay.
no? So, gone are the days na okay, may pag hindi mo na-achieve tong outcome na-achieve tong competency na ito, tanggal ka sa program.
Mhm.
Hindi ka pwede mag-PT ganun,
Mhm.
no? Or hindi ka pwedeng maging professional ganun. That's competencies based. But now we are in the outcomes based wherein kung hindi nagigets ng estudyante, no, we are going to find ways, no, on how will they be able to achieve the outcome for that program.
Mhm.
So it's more of learner-centered rather than teacher-centered. No? Yung
Mhm.
tipong si teacher, pag sabi teacher-centered or teacher-centered, okay, ako masusunod, ako ang batas.
Mhm.
Ako ang masusunod.
Mhm.
So kung hindi ka pumasok sa panlasa ko, ligwa ka.
Mhm.
That's teacher-centered. Pag learner-centered, you have to get in you have to um analyze then, get to appreciate their journey. Are they
Mhm.
really, appreciating the learning that is being taught? No?
Mhm.
Um, so, ayun, yun yung pinaka-essence no. And then, the teacher would be the one to curate the teaching and learning process that would best fit for his or her learners.
Mhm. Okay. So,
So very na siya, inclusive in
uh,
essence. So yung mga tipo maraming mga learning 'di ba, learner ta dito, mga different um types of learners, right? May mga visual, auditory, mga ganon.
Aha.
Pagdating mo sa competencies, paano pag sa competencies ang kailangan is skillful ka, psychomotor. So dapat ka.
Mhm.
Paano yung mga visual, auditory,
Aha.
no? Pero pagdating mo sa outcomes based, lahat 'yon pagaganahin para lahat sila mag-excel. So
Okay.
tutulungan lahat dapat, no? Tutulungan lahat dapat na mag-excel with that outcome for
Mhm.
them to achieve it. That's it.
So lahat ng learning styles dapat tingnan ng teacher.
Oo, no? It's
Okay.
of inclusive na siya, hindi na si tipo na okay, you didn't reach the cut, you're out. That's competency. Ayun. Ay, Kuya Johan. Naputol ka, Kuya Johan.
Ah,
Ayan.
Ayan.
Ah, wala ulit.
Ayun.
Ayan.
Okay na.
Mm.
So, pero how hard is it for teachers to do that? Kasi
Ooh.
you're, di ba, you're not, you have to think about all your students. You have a limited time, you have a limited duration for the semester in teaching. So if you're going to focus on all of their learning styles, paano mo i-adapt yung course mo doon? And di ba, you're also tracking the learner's progress. Di ba? Kasi with outcomes based, parang you have to, the way I understand it, is you, at the moment na nakikita mong the learner is not getting it, you have to make remedies for them to understand it, right? So that he or she can get that outcome. So how hard is it would for the teachers now to adapt to every learning style of their students? Eh kung ang course na tinuturo mo ay more on knowledge and understanding and not motor, or kung yung mga it's more motor application, eh yung learner mo more visual and and memorization.
Right. Actually, no, dun na rin papasok yung knowledge ng faculty in terms of the teaching and learning process.
Mhm.
So hindi lang dapat is so training wise should
Mhm.
be there.
Mhm.
Faculty should have been uh, binigyan ng faculty should meron dapat faculty development
Mhm.
among them,
Mhm.
no? And also there has to be a community of practice among faculty wherein they are aware or they
Mhm.
know what outcomes based is all about.
Mhm.
Um, Kasi nandun pa rin tayo sa nandun pa rin tayo sa mode na competency na a student should achieve a
Mhm.
certain competencies even in a rubric. Nandun, kitang-kita doon kung paano competent ba siya. Nandun ba yun, no? Nandun dun siya sa, nag-reflect yung competency dun sa rubric in itself, no? So, paano yun, no? Siyempre, dapat the activity should be holistic.
Mhm.
It would hit all types of learners in just one activity,
Mhm.
no? An activity should reflect visual, auditory, or even demonstrations all at
Mhm.
once.
Okay.
Kasi kung hindi pwede na may isa lang mag-excel and then the,
Mhm.
the rest would not.
Mhm.
Kasi doon makikita yung differences.
Mhm.
Pero nga 'di ba pag outcomes based lahat ng learners kahit ano pang type of learning mo, ma-achieve mo yung iisang outcome. Pero kahit magkakaiba sila ng konteksto, iisa lang ang outcome,
Mhm.
no? So student
Mhm.
for students to achieve that, dapat yung faculty din maalam din on how can they curate activities that would best fit all types of learners.
Mhm. I will
So
imagine
it's
ang hirap niya nung COVID, no? Kasi everyone's just
yeah,
watching a monitor. Paano mo
right.
ito-trigger lahat ng learning styles ng mga students sa gano'n?
Do'n na papasok yung kuya, no, yung ano, no, is ano tawag dito? I i tatanggalin mo yung bias mo as teacher,
Mhm.
no? Na ikaw yung hindi ka pwede maging sage on the stage. I'm the professor, I'm the teacher. You have to listen to me. But
Mhm.
instead, no, you have to be there for them, facilitate them.
Mhm.
Because it is through facilitation that you get to appreciate their varied types of learning styles.
Mhm.
So yun.
Mm. I like the word facilitation kasi when we're talking, naisip ko na parang very ano talaga siya, um, pro student na parang naisip ko, parang hindi ba parang ano siya, parang spoon feeding. Pero when you talk about facilitation, you can facilitate learning without spoon feeding someone, without
Totoo.
giving everything to that person. Um,
Mm-mm.
let's talk about kasi di ba we're talking about teachers naman. What's the role of students naman in this? Kasi I would say na narinig natin na parang it's all for the students. Teachers are adapting. In this kind of model of outcome based, ano ang role ng students, ano responsibility niya, how can the students be accountable to what the results are?
Ooh, how can the how can they be held accountable
Uh,
for what they do?
uh
Mm.
yeah. Kasi parang ang dating sa akin, the teachers would all adapt to and
Mm.
make all necessary remedies. Pero anong role ng student dito? Ano ang responsibility niya? Hanggang saan
Actually,
aabot ang responsibility niya and the adapting power of the teacher to meet halfway kasi
coming
hindi
that
naman ano di
way.
ba? Oh, di ba hindi lang naman teachers ang dapat mag-adapt eh. And how can the learners meet the teachers on their ways of teaching?
All right, no. Um, that all it would also reflect on no yung paano yung klase ay sinet up, no?
Mhm.
So meron kang minimum requirement on how a session would go. And it's up to them how to go about it. Siyempre dapat nagbasa muna sila na
Ah,
they have prepared well for the topic and all. That is, you have given them an idea na okay, they have to be ready before coming into class.
aha,
That's one. So, syempre, nandun yung adaptability dun.
aha,
Di ba? So, if they were not ready
aha.
before coming into class, mararamdaman yun during session kasi nagpa-facilitate si prof. Nagpa-facilitate si teacher. Doon yung
Mm,
makikita
mm,
kung, ay, teka lang, parang kailangan pa natin na nabasa mo ba siya? How do we instill na, okay, mukhang hindi nagbasa, sige, i-relate ko sa iyo yung konsepto para mas lalo mo maintindihan,
mhm,
no? That even if you don't get to read, pero siyempre dapat kakausapin mo after na, okay, I think, or even after the session, o no, before ending the session, that you guys have to read pa rin,
mhm,
no? For you to, para hindi kayo mahirapan sa pag-gets nung topic na diniscuss ngayon.
mhm,
So, it's like, pag nabigyan mo din kahit papano ng structure, kahit minimum lang, no? That's already motivating the demotivated, eh.
aha,
No? At
right,
tinuturo ko din talaga siya sa teaching and learning sa amin sa when I used to teach din sa ibang schools na pinagtuturuan ko. And part of which would be yung ayun, motivating the demotivated din talaga. So ano yung mga examples? So may limang principle kasi dito, kuya, on how a student can really adjust in this type of concept, no?
right,
How can they get to be motivated kahit demotivated sila?
mhm,
So yung unang principle is the learning environment should be supportive and productive. So kung hindi hindi conducive for learning ang environment na kinabibilangan niya, how can you exhaust all means for that student to even participate?
mhm.
So yun yung tinatanong mo sa akin kanina,
I
kuya,
was
no?
about to ask that, like building culture of learning in a class.
Yes,
So yeah,
ayan. So
supportive,
that's
productive.
the first principle, no?
Mhm,
For them to have a supportive and productive learning environment. So yung second would be So nalaman dapat na stage na structure mo muna yung environment, learning environment ng student. Yung
Mhm.
second principle, it's more of yung ano no, promoting independence,
Mhm.
interdependence and self-motivation. So dito nagkakaroon na yung ano, teacher encouragement, supporting students no to take responsibility of their own learning.
Mhm.
So dun yun,
Yung
principle 2 din yun,
accountability. Mhm.
accountability. And then, dapat ma-appreciate din nila yung academic discourse
Mhm.
na that during facilitation, it's not about ano tawag dito, para pahiyain yung student na okay, mukhang hindi mo alam. Mga gano'n, bakit nananahimik ang lahat? Mga gano'n, hindi ba nagbasa? Hindi gano'n. It's
Mhm.
more of for them to appreciate yung ano no, for them to have an academic discourse that it is during that time that they get to enrich
Mhm.
yung kanilang communication skills.
Right.
'Di ba? Kasi
Mm.
isa pa yun, no? Hindi rin masyado na ituturo sa undergrad ang com skills kasi it is true ano no? Ano ta dito? Ang thinking kasi is ay naturo na kasi to sa sa ano sa senior high.
Ah.
'Di ba? Pero pagdating mo sa ano, sa undergrad, okay dapat marunong kang magsalita, or magsulat, mga gano'n. Pero hindi. Kasi lalo na sa healthcare industry tayo, 'no? How
Mhm.
can you provide patient care if you don't even know how to care?
Right. And back then yung ano din,
Malalim 'yun.
oo nga eh. Back then yung structure, teacher passing on something tapos wala na, ganun lang eh.
Right,
Assessing lang talagang learners eh. But
right.
I like what you said about com skill kasi um, sa profession natin, medyo ano tayo, dehado din tayo ng konti kasi we don't know how to interact with uh, doctors and other healthcare professionals. Kaya parang medyo natatrampol tayo dun sa gano'n. So I like that, yung discourse and academic discourse na it promotes
Mm.
communication and
Yes,
challenging concepts. Ito yung
right.
pagkakaintindi ko, bakit hindi ganyan? Bakit?
Mm.
Oo.
Tama 'no, dapat pumasok din dun yung critical thinking na we are kaya tayo nagbabalitaktakan dito is para humasa yung critical thinking, clinical reasoning mo. Dahil 'pag humarap ka sa pasyente mo, at least alam mo kung paano ka sumagot,
Exactly. Maraming ganyan
'di
pasyente,
ba?
challenge ka.
'Di ba?
Mhm.
Hindi puwedeng nakatulala ka lang, "Wait lang po, magbabasahin ko muna yung libro, sandali lang."
Mhm.
Hindi puwedeng gano'n, 'di ba? Or teka lang po, maggo-Google lang ako ng
Oo.
sagot. Hindi puwede yung gano'n. Dapat you can think on your feet.
Mhm.
'No? Kaya dun dapat ma-establish yung ano 'no, promoting independence, interdependence, and self-motivation through academic discourse din. So
Mhm.
another principle would be, ayan, yung third principle is that students' needs, backgrounds, perspectives, and interests are reflective in the learning program. So ibig sabihin kahit gaano ka-varied pa yung konteksto ng mga estudyante na pumapasok or that are part of their or part of their program, dapat they are the students are ano no I mean they have the faculty or the yeah, the college or kung sino man po, the institution itself
Mhm.
knows of these, no? So paano 'yon? Through advising, makikita mo doon 'yon, no? Na okay, this student needs this help, no? In terms of let's say for instance, coping mechanisms, time management,
Mhm.
mga ganun. So ayan, at dun nila ma-appreciate na okay, I belong kasi binibigyan ako ng atensyon na hindi tingin sa akin ay problema, pero isa akong parte ng komunidad na natutulungan din, period. So yun, ayun. So that's another, no, third principle. And then yung fourth principle would be yung students are challenged, no, and supported to develop deep levels of thinking and application. Yes, so
Ano yung deep?
dapat binibigyan mo ng ng substantive discussion of ideas, no? Ini-emphasize mo yung quality of your learning with high expectations of achievement na dapat ito, yes, at least ganito yung ma-perform mo, but I know it may be that high, pero tutulungan ka namin how to go about that, how
Mhm.
to reach that, no? Binigyan mo sila ng model na okay, you have to reach this, but let me walk you through it.
Mhm.
rather than okay, ito kasi yung ito dapat yung outcome. Ikaw bahala kung paano mo i-reach.
Oo.
Mahirap 'yun. So paano ma-appreciate 'yun na estudyante, 'di ba? How can they even step up if
Oo.
they don't know, if there's that gray area, if there's that gap in between what the teacher knows or targets and the student needs to achieve,
Mhm.
'di ba? So ano 'yun, parang hindi nagma-match.
Oo.
So kaya most of students would get to feel na parang, okay, ang taas naman na, bakit ganito? Yung mga inaral ko, hindi naman siya lumabas sa quiz, sa exam. Ba't gano'n?
I
Tapos,
feel I feel that. I feel that.
so, mga gano'n. So, okay, paano malalaman yung deep level of if we're purely memorizing,
Mhm.
'di ba? How can we gauge that substantive learning from our students if it's purely memorization?
Mhm.
No? Eh na-achieve na 'yan ng ng high school. Mind you, sa senior high school, ang top level na nila na activity is for them to be ano ba, outsourced, no? So parang tawag dito, pwede na nga silang 'di ba? Pwede na nga silang i-hire ng mga 'di ba, ng companies even if they're graduate ng senior high school, 'di ba? Kasi may
Dalawa
minimum
siguro.
competencies.
Mhm.
Kasi pinag-OJT na sila, no? Tawag dito, pina-immerse na sila sa mga
Real
institution na
world.
gusto nila. Field work, right? Tapos pagdating mo ng first year, paupuin mo sila sa classroom. Ay,
Mm.
so, may gap in between doon. So, dapat mag-match din yon, no? So, kung gano'n na yung level na in-end sa senior high school na, okay, pina-immerse na kami. So,
Mhm.
pagdating mo ng first year, balik memorization, di naumay yung estudyante.
Mhm.
Ayun.
Mhm.
Isa pang malalim na usapan din yon.
Kasi pero ang bulk ng physical therapy is memorization eh.
Pag toddler years. Toddler years.
Toddler, toddler years. Ano
Oo,
toddler years
pero
ng PT student?
first year.
First year. Oh, yeah.
Oo, toddler years. So yung mga tipong, okay, kailangan matuto muna. Okay, huhulmahin ka namin kung paano. Pero syempre, you curate your tawag dito, your subjects in a way that it's higher level. Na
Mhm.
hindi purely memorization na dapat ang activity mo, hindi nila ma-appreciate na it's something that would be parang pasan ko ang daigdig. But
Mhm.
it's more of like, eto ang pulot nito pag naaral ko to. Take
Mm.
note na aral, pero hindi minemorize. Iba
Mm.
kasi yun. Kasi, mamaya, isa pa yun, no? After the fifth principle, no? Yung fifth principle daw is that assessment practices should be an integral part of teaching and learning. So, ibig sabihin nito, pag hindi alam ng estudyante kung paano siya gagradean, kung hindi alam ng estudyante kung paano siya, ano yung outcome na kailangan niya ma-achieve, paano siya gagalaw? Hindi
Mhm.
nga niya alam kung paano siya, anong, anong, paano siya mafi-feedbackan na, okay, tama pala yung ginagawa niya, mali pala yung ginagawa niya.
Right.
No? It's hindi lang po pwede 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 tapos
Mhm.
walang description 'yon.
Mhm.
Na tapos or 0 tapos 2, 0, 1 tapos 2, 3 tapos and then 4, 5. So ibig sabihin, ano yung 2, 2, 3? So hindi pwede yung gano'n, no? Kailangan well identified kasi nag-aaral din ng estudyante kung paano siya gegradean,
Mhm.
no? On another end, instead na mag-feedback na yung teacher na, okay, eto yung mga points of improvement mo, nasa rubric na siya. So,
Mhm.
no need to further explain kasi nandun na yung description eh.
Mhm.
So, if you have been rated at this score, therefore, ito yung dapat mo improve.
Mhm.
Kasi ito yung nakita sa'yo.
Okay.
So, ayun.
Ah.
So, all in all, with all these principles taken into consideration, mas ma-appreciate lalo na estudyante yung inaaral niya.
Mhm.
At para saan yung inaaral niya.
Tama.
Or para saan yung natututunan niya. Kung baga sa Nescafe dati, no, para kanino ka bumabangon, At dito, bakit ka pa nag-aaral? Ito na yung mga kasagutan, yung mga principle na yun, no?
So,
Para saan
doon
ba to?
mo appreciate kung
Exactly.
ano yung na inaaral mo, kung bakit ka nandoon, and that would address your motivation. Nung I was about to ask kasi, di ba dun sa fourth principle about challenging yung students. So, with memorization part, kailangan pa I feel na ipasok na agad yung mga clinical pearls doon
Oo.
for them to appreciate. Saan ko gagamitin
Oo.
ito?
Oo.
So, mhm. Tama, tama.
Kasi kung hindi naman din nila ma-apply yun, everything is just like abstract.
Mhm.
Di
Exactly.
ba? And then dun sila madidemotivate. Ay, memory, ang dami kong aaralin. Di ba? Tapos dito napapasok yung tipong gagawa na sila ng paraan para lang pumasa. Wink,
Uh-huh.
wink if you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yun na yan.
Mhm.
So, all in all, yung principles na to, paano to sa mga estudyante? They're
Mhm.
very reflective.
What?
Nire-reflect nila itong mga ito kasi syempre bakit sila madidemotivated? So nag-reflect sila. Ba't
Mhm.
sila demotivated? So
Right.
there's this internal frame of reference na okay, para saan ba tong nag-reflect sila nun.
Mhm.
So kung nag-reflect sila ng ganun, bigyan mo ng rason kung bakit sila napareflect nun through those principles.
Mhm.
So yan.
Ah, tama. Tama, tama. It can be applied to both the unmotivated and the motivated students. Katuwa yung yung mga principles na inano mo, um, minention mo, Sir Mervin, kasi thinking about that, naisip ko din, it can be applied to, it can be applied to working already in
Yeah.
the workforce. Kasi, di
Yeah.
ba, supportive environment. Mamomotivate kang to work if you have a supportive environment. If your practice, if your coworkers are at the same boat as you are in, you know, promoting the profession, and kung you're an evidence-based practice, PT, tapos yung mga kasama mo ganun din, you'll be motivated to be there and stay there. And the second one was that promoting independence, di
Yes.
ba?
Interdependence
Through
and
academic discourse.
self-motivation.
Uh-huh. uh, you also need that in practice. I mean, you also have that in actual practice. Na you challenge doctors, you challenge nurses, you challenge your other co-workers. You engage in discourse, what's best for the patient. And that, kung na-train ka na sa school with that, then it would then, at least make it a little bit easier how to approach that. Kasi some people, I mean, like me, I wasn't, hindi ako sanay to engage in conflict. Diba? We
Yeah.
learned about that in our guide about conflict resolution. Ganyan.
Yeah.
Pero how do we really approach that in real life?
Exactly. Kasi concept lang yun eh, tinuro
Oo,
sa'yo.
di ba?
'Di ba? So paano siya i-apply? That's the
Mm-mm.
problem there. And then ano ko lang, clarify ko lang kuya no. Pag sinabi mong academic discourse hindi ibig sabihin debate 'yon, guys ha.
Ah, ah,
Hindi ka makikipagdebate. Hindi ibig sabihin na okay, salangin mo ko, no? Sabihin, i-negate mo yung sinasabi ko. Hindi ganoon, no? It's for us to have an enriching discussion to
mhm.
facilitate further each and our own learning.
Learning. Exactly. Hindi naman yung, sir, bakit ganyan?
Ayan.
Yeah, yeah. Discourse. When you say discourse, tama.
Mm.
Hindi naman yung challenge mo just for the sake of challenging, but to really
Oo.
learn about the concept. Yeah.
Kasi kailan pa nila ma-appreciate na makipag-discourse ka kung mismong pasyente na sa'yo ang nagsasabi sa'yo na, "Okey, bakit mo 'to ginagawa? Eh, ano 'yan?" Mga gano'n. So,
Oo.
kailan mo ma-appreciate 'yun kapag nasa harapan ka na ng pasyente tapos hindi mo na nara-rattle ka na kung anong gagawin mo. Tapos, okey po, wait lang po.
Oo.
Mamaya na lang po na." So, you have to also know how to not really discourse in a way na to have a debate, but for each and everyone to have to have a stand and to also give to say your piece and to also have a middle ground during that conversation.
Mhm. Yeah. And with academic discourse, I feel na hindi naman laging kailangan may manalo, may talo, di ba? There's
Yes.
always that, okay, let's put a cap on it and let's
Yeah.
research on that more. It really
Yeah.
promotes learning and really tries to, um, what do you call this, challenge your views and your
Right.
biases, di ba? Kasi with,
Ano,
oh,
go, go,
go.
kuya. Go, kuya.
Kasi gusto ko lang ipasok na ang dami nating this hindi man sa internet, there's a lot of debates and arguments na hindi nagkakaroon ng magandang resulta. Kasi I don't think that people there are really aiming for a productive discussion. Pero if the culture of discourse was promoted in the education system, then ma-appreciate natin na nothing is being, taken personally pag when
Right.
you challenge an idea.
Right.
And you
Tama.
can
So,
still work together even if you have a disagreement.
tama. No? Ang mga maganda yun yung sinabi mo yung culture. Tama yun, kuya, no? It's more of paano ka ba hinuhulma ng edukasyon o sistema ang kinabibilangan mo?
Mm-hmm.
O kung lalo-lalo na ngayon, ang hirap pag-usap, dapat ang pinag-uusap, hindi naman really dapat, but it's more of yung mga simpleng tanong or simpleng bagay, hindi na pag-uusapan. It's being branded or being reflected upon as taboo. Where in fact, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Where in fact, lagi natin siyang na-encounter.
Uh-huh.
So for example, ethics,
Mm-hmm.
ethical practice.
Mm-hmm.
Paano mo malalaman ang right or wrong kung hindi mo, if you we won't be discussing it, no? Because 'di ba, paano kapag magkakaiba tayo ng ng pag-iisip pero we don't, para saan pa yung guidelines, para saan pa yung standards, 'di ba? If we are not being guided with such,
Mm-hmm.
'di ba? Yun yung mga tipong kailangan din natin pagnilay-nilayan na we have to also provide a culture or a community that won't think having a, an academic discourse ay isang stressful engagement for them to speak up, but for them to have an enriching enriching experience for them to talk through with their clients in the
Mm-hmm.
future, no?
Right.
Kasi prepare natin sila on how to communicate eh. And that is what we are doing, no? Yun yung com skills dapat na naituturo, no? Paano siya i-apply in clinical context, but not merely of through presentation, through anong tawag ba dito? Reporting,
Mm-hmm.
no? For them to appreciate that having an academic discourse is something vital that is related in patient care.
Right. Mm-hmm. Kung sinabi mo yun about ethical practice, I remember the discussion I had with PPTA officers
Yeah,
about, ethical practices kasi
recently.
uh, there's lumabas kasing issue about ethical practices, kung is it right or wrong. And napag-usapan na professionalism is being taught in schools. No? Pero I wasn't sure kasi di ba matagal na wala na ako sa academy or in school setting. I'm not sure and if those issues are being talked about in schools, these are not like good practices. These are not ethical practices. Um, so I mean, professionalism can be taught, but how do you measure that? Ethics
That's
can be
good.
taught, but how can you measure that? How do you know that they learned from it? And those issues about that unethical or questionable, because it's still debatable if it's ethical or unethical. Questionable practices are coming from physical therapy students, physical therapists mismo. Yung mga ganon. So, natutunan ba nila? Did they just not choose to observe that? Do they really not know about it? So, yun yung mga questions na lumalabas when we hear about questionable practices
Mm.
in around us.
Mm.
So,
Pag mga ganun, yung for example, yung naituturo ba siya, it's more into how are they being ano no ano yung culture na hinuhulmas sa kanila, kasi in any essence, di ba, for example, bakit ganyan ka manamit, hindi ba dapat nakadepende din yan sa culture kung anong kinabibilangan mo, di ba, kung paano ka feedback, kung paano finid sa iyo yun ng society, right? So dapat yung society na kinabibilangan mo sa eskwelahan, dapat sila din ang maghulma kung paano ka rin mag-isip.
mhm,
Pero, ano na, wait lang. Kalma lang, wait lang po. Pero it's more of like, kaya mayroon tayong unlearning.
mhm,
Paano yung unlearning doon, no?
mhm,
Ito yung sinabi sa'yo, and for example, ito yung theory,
mhm,
sasabihin ko kung ano yung pwede, pero it's up to you what you think would be best in given a scenario that you may indulge with in the future. Doon
mhm,
na magiging relearn yun.
mhm,
Kasi pa ikaw na magpa-practice, di ba?
mhm,
So unlearning, nagfi-filter ka na okay, ito yung natutunan mo from the learning. Then
mhm,
nung may tinuro din sa'yo na iba, na perspektibo, ngayon, paano mo siya i-mitigate? No? Then when you are already with ano tawag dito, pag ikaw na yung mismo naka-encounter nun, that's relearning.
mhm,
Kasi based from the filtered concept, paano mo na siya i-apply ngayon in your own practice.
mhm,
Siyempre, nakadepende yon kung gaano kalalim sa'yo yun na ituro. Or gaano kalalim sa'yo yun, gaano kalalim yun na appreciate ng estudyante.
mhm.
Kasi kung pasay lang siya, doon na mismo, okay, parang ito kasi yung tinuro eh. Ito pa, isa pa to. Paano kapag ang mga ano, for example, syempre ang mga ano, ang measurement, di ba? Question mo doon, Kuya Johan, would be, how would you get to measure it, right?
Yeah. Mhm,
Paano kapag ang assessment doon is through exam?
mhm.
Tapos ang exam, except. So ano tatatak sa kanya? Yung mali. Right? Patay.
Ah, mhm.
Oh.
Ah,
Pag exempt yung questions, edi mas lalong namutawi sa kanya. Ang tumatak sa utak niya, naitanong na to sa amin dati. Tapos ang tumatak sa kanya is yung exempt, yung maling tanong, maling sagot. Therefore, paano pag nag-apply siya, mali yung maling konsepto yung siguro that's another something to talk about,
ah.
no?
Ang
Question
hirap, I feel na ang hirap ng mga ganong abstract na concept.
there you go.
Mm, eh, with our practice, hindi naman na lagi tayo physically. We're dealing with with personalities, dealing with communication. Hindi lahat ng aspeto ng practice natin konkreto eh. Yung mga
Tama.
ganong aspects na abstract na professionalism, ethics, communication, verbal, non-verbal, di ba? So, I mean, parang makikita mo siya for one day, pero totoo bang gagawin ng mga estudyante yon when they practice? Parang,
Ito na yung ito na yung ah, ito na yung big picture na sasabihin ko sa iyo, Kuya Johan. O 'di ba ang lalim?
mm,
Ang daming advancements in any profession, pero ang what we are lacking in any other profession is the basics, the
what?
fundamentals, the fundamentals, no?
Which are?
Ha? Ano yung kuya?
Which are?
Communication,
Mm,
principles. Ba't
mm,
tayo magkakaiba ng pag-isip? Sorry, if we have a set standards, ba't tayo magkakaiba ng pag-isip? Bakit hindi?
hindi. Parang hindi tayo
Diba?
practice sa isang profession. Parang, nasa PT profession ba tayo lahat? Parang,
Oo. Don't we have our own standards, right, of practice? So
mm,
kung for example, reasoning.
mm,
Yes, magkakaiba tayo ng utak, pero we should be guided with theories, concepts, models. But how are those being taught? Is it palatable? Is it relatable? Or are those jargons?
Mhm.
Kaya hindi na namnam, kaya hindi na apply. So, kung if we, ayun, that's the ano, yun yung bigger monster out of that, no? Na parang, yes, we need to progress, but we need to cultivate a
Mhm.
foundation.
Right.
We need to enrich that.
Mhm.
Oh,
Dapat pag may tayong nakausap, "Oh, anong PT?" Pare-pareho tayong sinasabi, "This is PT.
yes.
This is our core values. These are our
Oh my God,
standards
yes.
of practice. These are what we're, known about." And ganun. Iba-iba rin tayo ng definition of what we're doing. I feel. I feel, ah.
Ayun na yun.
Um,
Ayun na yun.
um, we were talking about learning, unlearning, and relearning, and it all I think also boils down on how we or we as PTs, student PTs, professionals, think about reflection in our practice, reflection on being a student, reflection on clinical setting. Kasi doon papasok talaga lahat yun eh. We, the course of our patients, we assess discharge, we assess discharge. If we need to continue. Diba? Uh, if that is the same concept as we carry in our life, learn and learn, relearn, learn and learn, relearn, parang that would make it, um, I mean, far less difficult for for everyone as a student or as a practitioner. It's reflective practice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yun din yung ano, yun din talaga kuya yung ano, more of an guiding principle ko. Nagre-reflect. Yun talaga yung in-enrich ko, yun yung nirelearn ko.
Mm-hmm.
No? I went through much reflections on
Mm-hmm.
how to go about my future.
Mm-hmm.
Despite all the shortcomings that I have experienced back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it is through that unlearn, relearn that I get to appreciate moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And God willingly to where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
So ayun, it's more of ano no, um it's not really ang tawag dito instant
Mm-hmm.
na ano na nangyari sa akin. Pinaghirapan din talaga. Pinaghirapan ko rin talaga siya.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky, I'm really fortunate enough to have circle of friends
Mm-hmm.
who and even mentors and advisors who have been with me all throughout my ano no life
Mm-hmm.
as a professional no.
Mm-hmm.
So ayun, if you're watching, you know who you are. Maraming salamat. Ayun.
Shout out to everyone that helped you.
Shout out.
So, for all those, let's focus on that. Like, for all those, sabihin natin, speed bumps, shortcomings, or whatever we, make that as our own perception. Sa akin, I feel that was, for me, it's detours to where I'm going, or speed bumps that slowed me down, but it still helped me where I am going. How did you adapt to that? How did you manage coping wise, or you know going through those experiences? What are
Wow.
some of the things that you personally, what do you call this, uh, taught yourself, unlearning and relearning,
Oo.
taught yourself to, go through it?
Ano yun 'no, based on my experience na paano ko ni-read ano ba, paano ko minotivate yung sarili ko?
Mhm. Yeah, kasi,
Ah,
sorry, kasi
sige lang.
I heard, I heard, I heard, hindi ko na maalala kung saan ko narinig or nabasa, that, motivation is walang lang internal or external motivation. It's always internal, right? It's always to yourself. No one can motivate you but yourself. So, how were you able to motivate you yourself? How did you make, what are the steps that you took to help you go through that in your own personal
Alright.
experience? And
Mm,
as we've said, iba-iba
mm.
naman tayo ng coping mechanisms, iba
Tama.
naman tayo ng steps to.
Mm.
But personally, how did you do that?
Ayun 'no, at maganda yung sinabi mo Kuya Johan na magkakaiba tayo. So ano lang, disclaimer lang, magkakaiba tayo ng coping mechanism for those who are watching. On my end, in my experience 'no, it was really a struggle
Mm-hmm.
for me back then when I was just starting because meron na ano, nagkaroon ako ng imposter syndrome 'no, na parang parang hindi ako makontento na, "Okey na ba ako? Am I still a failure?" No, are people still thinking that I'm a failure? No? Gumanon ako dati sa past kong 'yon. Parang there's this ongoing struggle, self-struggle of me na parang I'm always a failure in anyone else's eyes, no? Because yun nga, hindi ako straightforward na nag-excel or hindi ako ano, 'di ba? Hindi ako yung usual na nakatapos on time.
Mm-hmm.
So, it took a lot of reflection on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, talagang nag-motivate sa akin is more on making tangible ano talaga, decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure na I have a plan,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm guided with targets, no? That meron akong patutunguhan na alam ko kaya kong gawin.
Mm-hmm.
So yun. And most importantly, no, yung naging gabay ko din during that time of despair, despair talaga, is actually my mom who just passed away, who has passed away that time. No? So it was her who have motivated me. Yung work experience niya, yung tinuruan kasi din ako nung mom ko how to go about being independent but being really, parang alam kong kaya mo yan, no? Tumayo ka sa sarili mong paa. Oh. Tsaka ang hirap din kasi nakikita yung magulang mo naghihirap, kumakayod para itaguyod ka. Pero ikaw, yun, on my end, parang feeling ko, parang nakakahiya na hindi ako mag-reciprocate. So, yun yung naging guide ko para sabihin ko na, okay, makita ko lang yung nanay ko maging masaya na-achieve ko yung sinimulan ko. Sorry, tapusin ko yung sinimulan ko.
Mm-hmm.
That is for me rewarding. Ayun, another thing is siguro I'm also an advocate of happiness and contentment. Medyo siya, medyo dito, yung happiness is very subjective, right?
Right.
Um Pero when I get to also learn from for example, Nassim Taleb, yung mga kilalang psychologist on how to go about with happiness. Then I get to appreciate na it doesn't have to be yun, hindi ibig sabihin na dito, masyadong malayo yung goals mo para maging masaya ka.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi technically, yung source of happiness mo can just be within your reach. For example, ma ano, m- nakakatulog kang mahimbing,
Mm-hmm.
nakakain ka ng normal sa araw-araw. That's simple happiness. The more that, ito na pa yung gusto sabihin, the more that you think that you're still not enough, the more that you think na mas lalo kang magsa-struggle. The more that you think that you're still not enough, the more that you would struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi ang kalaban mo na nun, sarili mo na talaga. Kasi feeling mo, hindi pa enough. Kailan ka magiging enough?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Lalim na naman, no? Yun yung pre-practice ko talaga. Reflect, reflect, reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through that reflection na hindi ko naman sasabihin na buo na ako, pero kahit papaano, masaya ako. At saka
Mm-hmm.
kontento na.
Yeah.
Ayan.
I understand that. Like, I totally understand that. But it's hard to move forward from that. Kasi, I mean, for me, like coming from my experience, it still lingers. Um,
Hmm.
pero for you, when did you reach that point na I am okay? I
Wow.
can talk about this. I'm ready to move forward from it. I won't let this hold me back. I won't let this dictate what I put out in the world. Kasi for me, when I was teaching, it was hard for me. Una nga, kasi I had that experience. Pangalawa, um, I don't know how the students would react. And
Hmm.
I had that kind of moment of like clarity or acceptance when I was talking with a student who was also delayed. Na it wasn't really a planned conversation. Now we were talking about stuff about her school, about her academic ano. Tapos it was just kasi ako hindi ko alam yung history ng mga students eh. Hindi ko alam kung if they were delayed or not. Kasi back then I was just um going through it. Na I was new instructor. So parang and I know I was about to leave na parang ano lang ako for temporary lang ako doon. So my bad, hindi ko masyadong inaalam yung mga buhay nila. Um, but that conversation led to her sharing that she also had that experience na parang nahihirapan siya kasi she was delayed and stuff like that na parang she had that imposter syndrome na parang hindi niya alam kung she's fit for that school or that program. So parang ako parang doon ko na nabuhos na share sa kanya na I also I went through that na I was held back, experienced that, then with the experience that I had, with me finishing school, passing the boards, you know, may mga achievements pa rin naman within that eh. I passed the boards one day. For some people, hindi masyadong ano yun, pero for me, it was big. I worked, I treated patients that loved me. Yun yung mga, sabi ko, it doesn't really matter kung what happened in my school. They don't ask about that. May license ako. I get to treat patients. I got to study again for my master's. I got to meet people. I did some research. Went to uh, went to the US to present my master's thesis. So parang with those achievements, parang lumiliit na yung binibigay kong attention to that. Ano. Then eventually, I'm comfortable with talking about it. Kasi it's so small of a part of my life now na I've done a lot of things that I would say are, you know, um, milestones in my life that kind of event was almost insignificant now. No? And hindi naman sa pagko-compare sa ibang tao. I mean, other people who have failed and, in their school, in board exam, or wherever, are doing great too. So, bakit ko binibigyan ng ganong attention? Eh, yung ibang tao nga, hindi. Yung iba, doktor na. Yung iba, na mayroong business. So, parang, ayun. So, doon ko, yun yung moment for me. Na parang, hallelujah.
More on ano 'no, yung question mo kuya is more on how do we go about that
Mm-mm.
situation 'no? For me, it's yung sinabi mo kuya, yung conversation yun ng student,
Mhm.
actually yun na yung sagot,
Mhm.
that we should also talk with about it,
Mhm.
'no? That's yun yung naging way ko to cope up with, what I went through, and I don't want to be the toxic positivity
Mhm.
person for those who are struggling
Mhm.
because mahirap yung I mean hindi tayo pare-parehas ng pinagdadaanan,
Oo.
but the mere fact na may tao din na hindi straightforward ang
Mhm.
success
Mhm.
could have been ano could also shed light, no, to people going through darkness.
Mhm.
No, it is through conversations
Mhm.
that we get to be with one another. It is through conversations that we get to appreciate each other. It is through conversations that we get to appreciate life.
True. I agree. Yeah. Kasi
Ayan.
I mean the parang we're talking about it and making it normal. Parang it's not as a big thing as being, hiding it and being ashamed of it. And we're not like in your face now, oh, I failed and look at me now. Parang hindi naman sa ganun, but
Mm.
I feel that having, students know that there are people who have experienced the same thing as they are experiencing, similar to, what they're experiencing, they can have that um, hope
Mhm.
and see that it's not the end of everything. It's not something that you can dwell on it now, but see that there are people who have been through that,
Mhm.
and it's okay, and you're
Mhm.
not alone. Yun
Mhm.
yun yun
Yun.
lang, yun lang okay na eh. Yun lang
Mm.
okay na. When I experienced that, I felt na parang ayoko na magpigil, gusto
Yeah.
mag-change, gusto ko na ayoko na, parang sobrang nakakahiya for me. Kasi
Yun.
never kong na-experience yun.
Ayan kuya, no? Yung sinabi mo kanina na nakakahiya yun. Kasi actually totoo yan, no? That's a common thing that I get to also reflect on with my students and previous students na pag sinabi mo yun sa ibang tao, nakakahiya maging vulnerable sa ibang tao.
Mhm.
Where
True.
in fact, it is through that we get to appreciate. Tayo parang nakakapagpagaan siya ng loob, no, in general. Kasi ang hirap kung papasanin mo siya ng ikaw lang,
Mhm.
no? It's really uh it's yon.
Mhm.
It's it's a heavy burden.
Mhm.
On my end, talagang ano no, yung una kong bagsak, hindi na ako nakakipag-usap sa ibang tao na
Mhm.
na within the realm of within the industry or
Mhm.
within mga ganun. Kasi parang feeling ko nakakahiya.
Mhm.
Then even on my second failure, sabi ko parang um, hindi ko na gagawin ulit 'yon, pero pag-iigihan ko na ngayon. 'Yun yung naramdaman ko back then. So it's really up to us,
Mhm.
no? And how the culture or how are we going to make sure that the culture won't eat us up, won't eat us. Kasi kung isipin nating maigi, no, nasa sa atin din ang solusyon.
Mhm.
Regardless kung paano 'yon,
Mhm.
no? Nasa sa atin pa rin ang solusyon. Kung paano tayo pinalaki or hinulma ng sosyedad na kinabibilangan natin, baka gano'n din yung maging rason. Yun din yung yun din yung maging um, solution mo to your dilemma. Pero kung magiging objective ka at kung gaano mo kagamay yung sarili mo, you would know. You really would know. For example, ako, nung that time, di, wala naman akong kaibigang bagsakin.
Mhm.
That yung una, pero nakakahiya magtanong, nakakahiya din naman magtanong sa mga nag-proceed na to a higher level, ako yung naiwan. So I really need to reflect hard what I really want in life.
Mhm.
And nakita ko, ano ba yung pinaka-motivation ko? Yung nakikita ko yung nanay kong tumatumbling para lang buhayin ako,
Mhm.
para lang makatapos ako. Yun yung pinaka-importante sa akin na motivation na parang nakakahiya naman ata sa nanay ko na ang mahal-mahal ng tuition fee tapos hindi ko matapos-tapos yung sinimulan ko.
Mhm.
Tapos doon ko na-realize na, sabi ng nanay ko, nung nabubuhay pa siya, hindi naman pala niya intention na, ano, no, siya pa nga nagsabi sa akin na, actually, okay lang, no? Just do your thing, no?
Mhm.
At your own pace, at your own time. Don't pressure yourself too much. Although, yes, mahirap pa on her end, pero ang importante, may natututunan daw ako.
Mhm.
From there, sabi ko, ayun, lumalim yung pagre-reflect ko sa buhay.
Mhm.
And then I get to talk, I get to practice that way even with my students and former students as well.
Mhm.
Na importante may napagkukwentuhan ka or nakakausap ka with regards to your whereabouts.
Mhm.
Kasi it is through us that we get to also help each other out.
Mhm. Gotcha. In a culture of,
Yan.
trying to I understand that we're trying in our profession, we're trying to promote excellence. I mean, it's would also be helpful to know that there are times that we can be vulnerable, that it's okay that we can be vulnerable and talk about that coming from someone that we look up to, or that inspires us. I think that would help.
Yes.
That would help. Siguro, I would appreciate it before kung there would have someone napiti din that would have approached me oh, it's okay. Parang, look at me. Here I am now. Parang ganun. Or, that's okay. We can, continue. Siguro that would have been more, I don't know, manageable for me, or
Yeah.
less of trauma, kumbaga, back then. So yeah, it's hard because nandito tayo. We're here that we want to study, we want to excel, but things happen. We have different circumstances that kahit anong pilit natin na we want to do stuff the right way, the the proper course, meron
Mm.
talaga nangyayari. So, I really want to thank you, Sir Marvin, for coming over here and being vulnerable, sharing your experience, as well as sharing to us, what we or what learners can do, what professional teachers can do, and what us as a profession can do in helping each other, you know, um, with motivation, with our profession, and being reflective in whatever we're doing. And yun, ang haba nung usapan, marami na tayong, ang dami tayong pearls doon, words of wisdom, and marami pang pwedeng i-branch out yung conversation natin. Actually, marami pa tayong pwedeng pag-usapan.
Mm.
I want to be, respectful of our time. Just to wrap things up, for those who are experiencing, demotivation or unmotivation in whatever um, place they're in school, student sila, in their work as an early professional, or in as a professional in their mid and late careers. What can you advise our colleagues and our students regarding motivation?
Okay. This is no, parang mahirap ata na parang magbigay ng parang cookbook approach, but
Blanket,
oo, or a security blanket din na na okay, ito po yung ito yung advice ko para sa inyo, no.
uh,
But it's more of like my fair share
mhm.
of ano tawag dito, pulot na
Yeah.
lagi ko sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko, no, anong pulot mo for today's session? Hello, students. So,
Mhm.
ayun, it's more of, no, um, try to find contentment in what you have. it is through that contentment na ma-appreciate mo through reflection na kahit papano pala, masaya palang mabuhay.
Mm.
Very generic lang. Pero it's really through that we get to appreciate life. Ayun. Simple
Yeah.
lang.
Simple pero mabigat. Mabigat.
Mabigat.
Well, kailangan pagtuunan talaga ng pansin yung mga ganyan. I
Kasi
have to
kuya,
be
no,
appreciate that.
the more that we feel that we are still not enough,
Mhm.
the more that we feel that we are struggling, the
Mhm.
more that we feel that there's more for us to go about it, the more na hindi tayo, and the more na mas-stress tayo about on a daily basis.
Mhm.
So, with with my experience with what I went through, iba I I thought na parang iba pala yung disposition na to accept as it is and find contentment in each and every circumstance or in any situation that I may have,
Mhm.
whether it may be a negative situation or a positive situation.
Mhm.
Kasi it is hindi yan binigay sa atin ng poong may kapal just for the sake na okay, you have to struggle muna, then ano, you have to push forward. It's more of binigay sa atin to ni Lord kasi pinagkatiwalaan niya tayo na kaya natin, kakayanan natin at kayang-kaya natin.
I agree with that. Kung ano man yung nakukuha mo ngayon, it's someone knows that you can handle that.
Yeah.
Whatever you're believing in, but whatever you're experiencing it,
Right.
someone knows that you're able to go through that.
Mm.
Ah!
Hindi pa ako pastor. Hindi pa ako pastor. Just so you guys know, hindi pa ako pastor.
Yeah, we have our own beliefs, but that I do believe that there's always a reason where you are right now, and
Mm.
I know that we're supposed to be there, and whatever challenges that is you're encountering, we can handle that.
Yeah.
If anyone watching or listening to us is curious to know more about you, talk to you, how can they reach out to you? Any services that you offer?
Magpo-promote ba tayo?
Oh,
Hindi
yeah,
ako hindi ko na-expect to, parang parang wala man ako ipo-promote. Enroll kayo sa amin. Joke lang.
yeah,
Hindi,
yeah.
joke lang.
No, you
Hindi,
have
yeah.
that. I forgot your name. I forgot the name.
Which one? Okay,
Previously
okay. So,
Physiotech.
yes, yeah, Aquinel na ngayon, right.
Uh,
Ano no, yeah, the training consultancy services. Yeah, can also we are may mga programs din kami na upcoming programs that would cultivate the future of physical therapy, but most importantly, we're also would want to also engage kaya Aquinal na siya kasi hindi lang puro pang PT
mhm,
yung gusto naming ihulma. It's more on um, health, allied health or the health professionals and venturing into all professionals din in the long run.
yeah.
But I would also like to share for those who would want to go through advancing their profession through a master's program, no, pwede rin po. So you can go to uh, yeah UP
Mhm.
College of Allied Medical Profession. So we're also I'm part of their faculty for the Master of Physical Therapy and even sa Master in Sciences, Rehabilitation Sciences na the currently has revised the program which would also cultivate yung counseling in rehab. So I'm also part of that. Kaya ayan, kaya natutuwa ka sa
Wait,
conversation natin because yes, I love I love
counseling in
talking
rehab. Wait,
counseling in rehab.
what's
Yes.
that? Is it a part of the course of that
It's a part
program?
of the course. Yeah.
That is amazing. Like, kasi nga
Mm-mm.
we're venturing into the biopsychosocial. That's
Yes.
psychosocial aspect of rehab.
Kaya
Amazing.
natutuwa ako. Natutuwan-tuwa talaga ako sa I mean,
I like
happy
that.
place, happy
Ha?
place,
Happy
happy
place.
place.
Yeah. I appreciate that kasi I'm in a psychiatric setting. So, everything
Mag-usap tayo
mental
kuya.
and psychiatric,
After.
everything mental, psychiatric, psychosocial,
Mm.
very amazed na ako ngayon. Nandun na yung focus ko after, after geriatrics and nasa mental health
Cool.
aspect na ako ng physical therapy. Tsaka, I would really see those principles being
Yeah,
applied to the workforce in any industry.
di ba?
Yeah.
Kaya ang lalim din talaga ng hugot ko kasi parang it's more of ano eh, before we get to advance, let's establish muna yung basics. Kasi
Uh-huh.
nahihirapan din tayo with basics eh. Com skills,
Uh-huh.
decision making, critical thinking.
Which are really essential for everything. Kahit
Exactly.
private practice ka, which is more, I think more important there. Pero in all settings, private practice, community health, private setting, kailangan mo nun.
Mm.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Again, thank you very much, Sir Marvin, for gracing our show, and thank you everyone for watching PT Meal Podcast live. I hope you have learned a lot from our conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and like and follow us in social media and all podcast apps. And stay tuned to the next episodes of live and our next episodes of your regular podcast episodes. Okay. Until next time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kuya Johan. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye-bye.